Hey everyone, this is Logan. We made it to our hotel for the Regents competition with my partner AJ.
Woo!
Got a pretty sweet room. I mean, Jesus Christ, like this thing is huge.
Yo, we're over here living in luxury, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So yeah, we have a competition starting tomorrow for us, and we have a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is the Discourse Debrief episode 9, 10?
Something like that.
Something like that.
We're up there.
We are up there. We're getting close to double digits. If this isn't double digits, you will notice that there's no video today. It's just me and Robert. So
Someone forgot to give me their tripod before
Yeah.
they went on their crazy birthday trip.
shout out Peyton.
I wasn't gonna name names, but
Well, I'm about to say
Yeah.
we're missing him because it's his birthday. So
Yeah.
I figured. So we're
happy birthday, Peyton.
Yes, happy birthday, Peyton. Hope you are enjoying your trip. And then Blossom could not be here with us either, so it's just me and Robert. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of things today. Announcements, we only have just pretty much one. May 6th, again, it's our end of semester debate that we will be having on the mall.
Yep.
I think the time will probably be around 6:30, maybe 7-ish. That's usually when we do these things. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll have more details like on our Instagram and stuff as we get closer.
Yep.
So
It'll be me and Logan toe to toe facing off on a very important topic.
toe to toe, yes.
Toes who knows?
Toes who knees.
It's okay.
So yeah, today we're just going to be talking about Regents. We got back this last weekend from our competition, and we did fairly well.
We
I'd
brought
say.
back the cup. We won.
The trophy, if that's what you want to call it. That
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
it's concepts of a trophy.
We have concepts of a trophy for sure. It looks like something.
It definitely does. I'm not what that something is. Couldn't tell you, but
It's interpretive.
So, how do we define trophy? But yeah, we're going to talk about Regents, just kind of talk about our experience and kind of what we're going to be doing today. It'll be probably a little bit shorter. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, how do you want to get started, Robert?
Well, I think that we can start in the beginning, when we started preparing for Regents, when we did the tryouts. I think that's a pretty good place to start.
Okay.
Obviously, I only knew Logan and Peyton, and I only knew them a little bit when we started those tryouts. And here we are, 6 months later. November, 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. How did you feel going into those tryouts?
Going into the tryouts, I think like pretty confident in myself. I mean, like obviously I didn't have the experience that some of the like more senior members did, but I think I was confident in my ability to at least have a conversation and just kind of like not make stuff up on the fly, but something to that effect.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we were going for in those initial tryouts.
Yeah,
is like,
thinking on the spot.
yeah, no prepared research, no written out statements, just kind of like having a conversation and letting it naturally flow. So,
Yeah, I had a similar vibe, although all of my debate experience up to that point had been like rebuttal, like destroy your opponents. And
Yeah.
so I kind of went into it with that mindset, not knowing what Regents was or what Oxford debate was
Yeah.
or any of that. So yeah, also it helped that it was a topic I knew a lot about. So I went in there with kind of that like, I'm going to destroy them attitude. And then the instant after like the votes were announced where we had won that debate, Ted, shout out Ted, was like, yeah, you're not here to like destroy people. You're here to have a conversation. And I was like,
what?
I was like, oh, my fault.
Yeah. But no, I think I adjusted fairly well. I mean, like I knew I didn't have the experience nor the research to like completely and utterly just decimate whoever I was going against. So I was just like, oh yeah, let's talk about this, and I'll get a little snarky here and there.
Yeah. You know, I've seen you be snarky. I've seen you.
Oh yes.
What do you know about Texas?
What do you know about Texas?
But yeah,
Well,
no.
and I remember there was like a social media debate. It was like, I think it was during the tryouts, and the topic was like, is social media good for democracy or something like that?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, I don't even remember who I was going against, but they said something. I was like, and that's good for democracy? Like, are you crazy? So
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for that, though, I feel like, and
Yeah.
especially in some of those tryout debates. Those topics were super interesting.
yeah, they were.
I wish we got to see more of those for
For sure.
Regents.
Yeah. But no, yeah, tryouts were pretty good. Obviously, we both made it. So, and then winter break, we just we didn't actually end up doing a whole lot.
We didn't know what was the topics or anything over winter break.
Right.
But I think we hit the ground running when the semester started.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we started with kind of shortened statements. We had like the sort of structure of what each prompt was, except
We had
for like
concepts.
maybe we had concepts.
Yeah.
Except for maybe like 2. I think that got changed. Maybe 1.
So we didn't know, we had 6 prompts at the start of the semester.
Yes.
They threw out 2 and then they added.
It had to have been round 5.
Yeah. Yeah, they added round 5s towards, I think it was literally right before spring break. They added round 5s,
Something
which
like
was
that.
The Constitution one.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, the topics that were at tryouts, I wish we got to see something more even just structured like that.
Definitely.
Where it's more of like open-ended, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like for lots of the topics at Regents, it wasn't like it could go either way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it was like an implied binary of like either or.
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
Like, and you know this, and I think everyone knows this. Like we all kind of tried to break towards the end. We started to say like, yeah, it's actually not either or. There's something else to consider. So
I think that's something our team did very well.
Definitely.
Is looking at this clear, like the topics were about federalism, right? Every single one. And we didn't want to have that conversation 5 times over the course of the day. So we very much tried to make it not about federalism.
Yeah, over the course of the day and over the course of like 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
After winter break.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, then we kind of started moving more towards kind of similar to what the competition would look like. So we transitioned to 7-minute openings, 5-minute closings.
Yeah, after spring break.
That was after spring break. So yeah, during spring break we were expected to like come up with fully fledged cases, do some pretty decent research.
Yeah.
And then we came back, and I think we were very, very well. I mean, there was that one week where we kind of didn't quite start off how I think Ted had envisioned, and then right after that, I think we got.
Oh yeah, I think that honestly, like everyone came back from spring break kind of locked in. It was impressive to see the difference. There was such a stark difference between before spring break, but I think that was almost intentional. Like we were trying to build up the idea of, even though this is a competition, we're not there to like, win or score points. And I think that idea is honestly why me and Peyton even made it as far as we did, is because we made it very clear we're not here to win or score points. We're here to have a conversation.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we can talk about results later.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I think once I settled into opening, because I think before spring break and maybe even 1 week after, I was like trying to do closing and it just wasn't really working very well. And then I really settled into opening almost exclusively, and I think that went pretty well for me, and I got better and better as the weeks went on and such. But
yeah, I mean, I could not do openings to save my life. That's where like Peyton has the strong suit where he could do openings or closings and be really strong at either. And I know even in like, when there's something that, like, oh, if I just worked hard on this, I know I could be really good at it. It's like, I know I could work as hard as I wanted to on openings for that whole 5 months, and I still wouldn't be good at them. But like my closings, I don't know, that's where I shine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think honestly, for some people, it's like a personality thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Yeah. Anything else kind of during that period, like right after spring break?
Oh man, right after spring break. Well, that's the thing. Like, I know we were expected to work on our cases over spring break. I did not do that at all. I think everyone knows I didn't do that at all. So this isn't going to be a shocker to anyone that listens on the team or Ted. I was on vacation. So.
Yeah.
But I came back, and literally the night that I came back, I just locked in and I wrote my 10 closings all in one night. Actually, I wrote 9. I didn't do one of them. And that kind of bit me in the butt later in the semester. But
whoops. Yeah.
Yikes.
I stayed on campus over spring break because I didn't want to go home because it wasn't worth it. So yeah, me and my partner AJ, who was on here a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't even know. We worked on our cases quite a bit, and I think it panned out pretty well for us. And then kind of the weeks went by. We just kept on going through our debates. I don't know about you, but like AJ and I, we only went against like one team more than twice.
Really?
And it was like several times. So like we went against you guys twice. Well, once you weren't even there.
Yeah.
We went against Camille and Olivia, I think twice. Jacob and Blossom, I think twice. And I think we went against Connor and Desiree like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So,
We went against Connor and Desiree 4 times, I think, as well.
yeah.
So, but like, I mean, I said at the beginning that I want to go against Connor and Desiree more because the way that they debate is similar to what like me and Peyton were trying to emulate.
Sure.
We wanted to like, we kind of looked up to them the whole time.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out Connor and Desiree.
Well, yeah, and obviously they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Yeah, and then kind of towards the end, it was getting pretty obvious that AJ and I were going to end up being alternates. So the way this works, I don't know if we even explained this last time we were here. Each university sends 5 teams, but only 4 actually compete, and then that last team serves as alternates. So
Yeah, they're there just in case something goes wrong.
just in case. And that was going to be AJ and I because it's both our first time doing it, and we have multiple years of doing it again. So
The thing is, like,
love lost
we
there.
had 5 really, really great teams, and so there was like no way to decide who should be the alternates there. So
yeah. So at that point, we were just like, okay, we're going to just help out the team as much as we can. I mean, there was that night right before the competition when we were in NAU.
Yeah.
We just went room to room trying to do whatever it was we could to help out. And
yeah, honestly, like the best part about Regents for me wasn't the competition, it was the team.
Yeah.
Like just how much everyone was willing to sacrifice for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that when we talk about like the actual day of competition. But even before then, just, I don't know, everyone being able to work together was really amazing.
Yeah. Like there was the week before we left, we all went to our coach's house, Ted, and we all just kind of pretty much just sat there for like 5 hours.
Oh yeah.
Going through each prompt, each side of the prompt, and just seeing what we could come up with, looking at different angles. Just cycling through all the different arguments that we could think of, and I think it was really helpful to the teams that competed. And if nothing else, it was just like a moment to kind of, you're still stressed about the competition, but you're kind of sharing that stress with
exactly
9 other people. So
I don't think I could have done this experience if I didn't have like the team that we had.
Definitely. Yeah. Kind of anything else you can think of during that little period right before?
Oh, that period. Oh yeah. So I remember going to Ted's house, and like I had just gotten back from California before, because that was a week before the competition. So I had just gotten back from research conference. I was late. I was already like super stressed, super like out of it. We didn't know at this point who was going to be the alternates either. I didn't know what we were doing. I was like I knew that we were there to prep. I didn't know what that prep was going to look like.
Yeah.
So I was super stressed, and also I knew that like I had written my closings, but I didn't really know my cases for some of them, and so I was really out of it going into that. Then when we got out, I don't know, that was just I felt a little better. I was still super stressed. Me and Peyton, obviously, we were like we were feeling it at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
We talked for like 2 hours that day about Regents, about how stressed we were. So
yeah. Well, and I think everyone kind of at that point was just like getting a little tired, feeling a little burnout here and there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and I think having that day again to just kind of talk through it all, even if it produced some stress, and I think I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think it was a net positive for sure.
Definitely.
And then that kind of just week after where we met on Tuesday and Thursday, like it didn't feel super high stakes to me. I mean, we did kind of our little mini dress rehearsal, if you want to call it that, but I mean, it still felt...
Me and Peyton had some of our best arguments on those days.
Yeah.
Because that's when we argued 3 and 4. And I honestly feel like those were some of our best performances. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that just goes to show like the whole experience was about growth and just trying to get better, and that's something that I think everyone definitely did, especially at the end. I mean that's pretty much all I got leading up to the day of.
Yeah, same. Do you want to talk about the day of
results?
Man, let's start the ride up there. I wasn't in the van with you on the ride up there. How was
that's
that?
right. Yeah, so we left on Friday to go to NAU. The first half, so we stopped in Phoenix. The first half, I tried to sleep. It did not work because the van we were in did not have headrests.
Oh.
So I just could not relax very well. I think I ended up sleeping a little bit. And then the second half, after we had left Phoenix, those last 2.5 hours, AJ and I did end up prepping. Oh, at this point, we still didn't know for sure that we were alternates.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the way we found out, and I have no idea if this was even intentional, was everyone knew their matchups of who they were going against in round 1 and 2, and AJ and I hadn't heard anything, so we're like, oh, okay, we're just alternates then. So that was a little
stressful,
funny.
yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. But yeah, at that point, we just gone through each of our cases, just say like, hey, what's our strong suit? What can we do to improve? And then when we got there, we had the ceremony and dinner that night, so there wasn't a whole lot to do.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, like for us on the way up there, we prepped the whole time. And like when I say we, I will say that like me and Peyton were super tired because we had stayed up like doing case stuff the night before.
Sure.
So were Connor and Desiree. And Connor and Desiree were locked in the entire car ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like props to them. I couldn't have done that because I don't have the attention span. And every time, like, I didn't want to bring out my laptop because the battery dies super fast. Every time I looked down at my phone, I was going to throw up because of the car sickness. Meanwhile, Connor and Desiree, like, oh my God, it's inspiring to watch them work. Like, they were locked in for 4 hours straight driving up to Flagstaff, just working on their cases. And so they deserved as far as they got.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Yeah, and then we got to that night, like after the dinner and stuff, we all
had
went
wood-fired pizza. Yeah, you can't skip over the wood-fired pizza.
How's pizza gonna get a job
How's
now?
pizza gonna get a job now?
Yeah.
What do you think of the ceremonial dinner?
The speakers were all very interesting. The first impression of the Regents was not the best. I got the impression that some of them just didn't really want to be there. But they brought me back.
I think that was just his voice.
It very well could be. It very well could be. But no, and it got better for sure. And there were some really, really interesting people there. I think one of the Arizona Supreme Court justices were there, and I got to talk to him a little bit. Definitely a cool experience. So yeah.
It's funny because then after the ceremonial dinner, we all locked in. We basically had Logan, AJ, Ted, and Hunter were like circling around, cycling through, coming to everyone's hotel rooms and helping them prep, which me and Peyton wanted to almost like sit out, mostly because the cases we were assigned to argue the next morning for 1 and 2 were the 2 arguments we have not argued all semester. And so those we had like very basic arguments down. But like we had nothing beyond that. So that was rough. The most amazing thing that helped though was Hunter came to our room, right? And Hunter had argued against the ASU team that we were going against in round 2. And everyone was stressing us out about that because that ASU team made it to the finals last year.
Yep.
And Hunter made a mock case for us, like right there, super fast, and then like argued against me, like presented the opening statement, and then I responded to it. And then we went the next day. I'll talk more about this when we get there. But the next day, basically, the case that they brought against us in round 2 was the exact same case that Hunter had prepared in the exact same format. So like, I don't know, shout out Hunter. Like he saved, absolutely. He's the only reason we won that round, and I'll give that to him 1,000%.
Yeah. My experience going kind of room to room was pretty awesome. I mean, I got to help in my own way. And I think I don't, this might be tooting my own horn a little bit, but I think AJ and I tried to kind of break the binary of each prompt a little bit before anyone else. And I think it started with round 4. The states are the best protectors of minority rights against majority powers.
Exactly, you got it.
I got it. We had all just kind of assumed that the federal government was the only alternative.
Yeah.
And we said, no, actually, let's look at the ACLU, the NAACP, like these NGOs. And I think that was the first kind of real round of debate that everyone was just like, okay, there's like different ways of looking at each of these prompts. And I think that was something. So anyways, going off of that, that is something that I had almost prioritized in our prep sessions leading up to that. It was like, how can we kind of deconstruct this prompt and look at it in a different way? So that was something that I could bring to each room.
Yeah, it serves 2 purposes.
Yes.
And not, like obviously, I don't know, when you came to our room, you realize that me and Peyton very much love looking at things. I think you knew this beforehand too, that we love looking at things outside of the box, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's two purposes to that kind of like out of the box thinking is that like number one, it completely throws them off. They're not expecting it, so that helps you. But number two, it's interesting. Like I can talk about federalism for 6 hours straight. I just don't want to, you know, like I would rather not do that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with like the prompts where I said, I wish we had more of those open-ended prompts is because of that. It's because, you know, it's more interesting to have a conversation. It's better for me to interact with it rather than like, you're arguing against the Constitution, so you're going to lose, you know?
So real.
But yeah, we had for our argument number one is probably our strongest argument, and then we didn't get to argue it. And again, like we stole the baseline of that. We took it from Connor and Desiree. They originally made the argument. It was a subsection of their argument where it was like, well, the structure is federalism. And then we kind of took that and ran with it. And then the rest of the team took that and ran with it. So it's just stuff like that where like one pairing comes up with like something good and then another pairing like builds off of it. And then everyone comes together and just keeps, it's like snowballs. And we saw a lot of that, I think, that night right before the arguments where like, I don't know, even AJ, when he came into our room, he was like, what round are you most stressed about? Here's how I would look at it. And it's like, even if we didn't use everything from that, it's like, okay, this is how they might be expecting that. You know?
Definitely. Well, and it serves even another purpose is if you're on the other side of that argument, you have to be, you know, prepared for something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure that any of the other universities had teams that really went outside the box like that, but I guess I didn't sit in on enough debates, but
to me, for the 3 debates that we did, it felt we were going against very binary arguments.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unfair of me to say that not in one of our debates was the other team prepared to have the conversation that we came there to have.
I agree.
I still think that we had wonderful like conversations. We had wonderful discourse, but like you saw in their openings and closings that they were very much there to talk about federal v. state government, and we were very much not there to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, with that, you want to kind of run through that first round because, like, I don't have much else to talk about now.
Yeah, okay.
From now on, here on out. Wow, I can't talk. Here on out, I was a spectator.
Yeah, but I think that you're because obviously I have opinions on me and Peyton's performance, but you have like that outsider insight of like you were watching. So I'll talk about that first round though. We were shy. We were tired. Me and Peyton, I say this all the time to everyone, like we got a combined 3 hours sleep. Like if you add up our sleep together, he got 20 minutes. So the rest was all me. I'll admit I was a sleepy baby. I got 2.5 hours of sleep the night before the competition. And I think it showed at the beginning. I think it definitely showed. I was exhausted. We were kind of nervous too. So the first round of the first debate, we were kind of getting slammed. We were kind of getting dunked on. And I think in that second round, I kind of realized that. And I was like, we need to figure this out. It's also like an argument that we've never done before.
Sure.
We kind of figured out our flow though. And like I say all the time, my mind goes blank afterwards. I forget everything I said in the debate, but I do remember that our performance picked up like measurably.
Definitely.
And once we figured out like the groove of the argument, they kind of didn't have like a counter to it because they didn't prepare to talk about what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, looking on, it was very obvious. You guys were tired. You guys were nervous. I mean, even like your volume was low. Yeah. Energy was low. And then I did see like kind of that moment of spark of like you guys brought it back. And then from there on, kind of to steal a term for you, it just snowballed into getting better and better. And then the closing was just the kind of peak of that. And then obviously you guys won. So
yeah, I literally don't even remember the argument we made. It's kind of crazy for me because I know that we did really well in that round 2 in the closing. I know that was one of my best closings ever. I don't remember it because I made up most of it while they were talking.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the beauty of my closings is it's so easy to just write a framework and then just like not use it. Yeah. And just like that way, if I forget I just go off the top of my head, and if I forget what I'm saying, I just look at a paper and like read something. But then round two, so before round one and before round two, we were pulled outside by Ted, who told us like, this is that team. He like kind of boogeymaned the crap out of this team, and rightfully so. But they have a style of debate which I would say is very legalistic, I guess is a fair way.
I don't even know. It's very like high school debate.
It's
kind of thing.
it's very structured, and me and Peyton are very not structured, I would say.
Definitely.
But it's also a kind of talking that I was naturally used to, where it's like the talking a bunch. I don't know.
Talking a bunch, but not actually saying a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot in like just my personal life, like one-on-one talking to people in my life. So I kind of know how to handle it.
Sure.
But if we hadn't had, like I said earlier, if we hadn't had Hunter come in and like literally give us the structure of how they argue, I would have probably been overwhelmed. Like they were great. So I'm not gonna like mock out their argument here, because honestly they did a fantastic job.
Definitely.
It's just once we had recognized that structure, and they again did not have a counter to what we were talking about, which that second prompt was
education.
Yeah, it was like states have too much authority in education, and we were saying yes. And in their opening, even their closing, they were saying like they want the federal government to come in and do everything. Whereas our whole argument was like the government sucks both ways, and we don't want either of them.
Yeah. Yeah, like they talked about the federal government almost exclusively. Like you guys didn't even touch on it.
Yeah.
And like they didn't have to talk about the federal government.
Exactly.
They only had to if you guys did.
Yep.
So yeah, that was kind of funny.
They didn't have any counters for our position, and all of the counters came from the judges, in my opinion. When I was talking about me and Peyton's high school, University High School, and I said that it got taken over by the states. Peyton told me this too. He was like, I thought that was it. I thought that was like our example done, because the judge asked, well, don't you think it's the state's job to prevent, discrimination and ensure equity? And I was like, I got this. And so, yeah, I think that we handled those questions very well, but
definitely.
I would have loved to see that from the opposition rather than from the judges, because like I felt like all the discourse there was with the judges, and it wasn't the fault of our opposition. It was just due to the fact of what we came to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I maybe push back a little bit. I think it is the fault in part of your opponents, because they weren't prepared for what you guys were going to talk about. And that might not even be them directly. That could go back to like, I don't even know, coaching. That could go back to
that's true.
Experience like that. There's so many things that could be at play there. But the fact that it seemed like they hadn't even thought of what you guys were advocating for was evidence to me that, they're maybe doing it for...
Yeah. And this is... I'm a very critical person, but I am going to compliment Ted for this, because I think that we all, once we decided we don't want to talk about these prompts, we don't really like them, which is, I'm just going to say straight up, I don't like the prompts from Regents this year.
Yeah.
He encouraged us when we started to find ways to talk about other things. He wasn't like, no, this is what you're going to talk about. No, this is the rigid structure of Regents. And on our third round, to get into the third round, me and Peyton had a very, very silly out-of-the-box argument where rather than, it was the state restrictions on minors' access to the internet are constitutional, and we were arguing against it. Rather than talking broadly about the idea of restrictions, which we did kind of a little bit. I think we should have done a little bit more. Sure. But rather than doing that, we just created a restriction and then defined it as constitutional, which is any argument you make there is going to be difficult. But this one's interesting because now you have a real example.
Yeah.
And even Ted was like, I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's a winning argument for the judges, but I think it's interesting and I think you should run with it. And it's I appreciated that so much because we need a way to interact with these prompts in a way that's interesting for not just us, but for the audience, for the judges. And I that was the best part of the coaching. I feel like Definitely. You can very much tell that the ASU and NAU coaches, and there's no hate to them, but they coach their debaters in a way that is not conducive to the out of the box thinking. It's more this is what the prompt, these are the arguments for and against, and you need to argue these.
Yeah. It like you said, it is very structured.
Yeah.
In the way you say Peyton and you aren't very structured. I think that's kind of as a team, we could probably say that.
Yeah.
Maybe minor exceptions here and there. Like, not many of us are super structured in that way.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to like looking at a prompt and coming up with arguments.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, definitely, I agree with you on that. Yeah, round two, kind of going back to that, you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, there was no room for interpretation on who won that, and it showed in the results. And then round three was.
Oh, I have opinions about round three.
Oh, we all do.
I genuinely thought round two was my best performance ever in a debate in my life. Peyton as well. From every debate I've seen from him, like I've never seen Peyton be so like confident in what he was saying and like just ready.
Yeah.
But round three, I thought I carried that performance, to be honest. I thought not that I was better than Peyton. I mean, I carried the performance over from round two into round three, if that makes sense. Where it was like, I just kept getting better as the day went on. I was super confident about round three. I feel like, I maybe made some rhetorical missteps, like when they talked about the loaded revolver thing. But that was funny to me, so I'm retconning that as being a good argument, even though it wasn't. But yeah, no, I felt super good about that, and then we lost. No, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but like even the judges and moderators came up to me afterwards and were like, "You killed it out there! Like you did such a great job, you know." And I won't name names, but there was some competitors not from the UA team who told us that we should have won that.
Yeah.
So that part kind of stung, especially because, I don't know, maybe your opinion as an audience member, I felt like it was kind of similar to round two, where they weren't prepared to address our argument at all.
No, I wholly agree. Yeah, and just as a little piece of context, that team that quote unquote beat Peyton and Robert, they ended up making it to the finals and actually won.
Yeah, they won the whole thing.
So and I agree. I felt like they weren't, kind of similar to round two, they weren't prepared for the arguments you were going to make, and I don't even know if they actually ended up addressing it.
The thing is, like, we never really talked about constitutionality.
No.
And that was the thing that happened the last time we did this prompt, when we did it with Camilla and Olivia. But the thing is, when we did it against Camilla and Olivia, that was our fault, obviously, because we didn't bring it up. But me and Peyton did a very good job this time, and I will toot my own horn, where we were like, this is what makes a restriction constitutional. This is what this restriction is. And then even when they brought up, like, the thing is, the reason we do that argument is because then they're like, that's really extreme. Look at these other restrictions. And then you're like, okay, well, the restrictions already exist, and you're saying to look at them, then that's constitutional.
Yeah.
I feel like if I hammered that home in my closing, maybe the results would have been a little different, but
I don't even know. I mean, we all know how the judges were thinking at that time.
Yeah.
But like another thing is like the amount of talking from both sides was very, like, there's a huge disparity. I don't even know if they talked for more than 10 minutes.
I think that the thing is, though, the reason we got so many questions is because they didn't like our position.
Well, even beyond that, like before they got the questions, like it was almost you guys. Your opponents were asking you questions. You guys would give great answers, and they they would just move on.
My whole thing was like, you need to tell us why this isn't constitutional, and they never did.
No.
And I think that the judges just assumed any restriction is unconstitutional, or even, I don't think that the judges, this is going to be a big criticism. I don't think they were thinking about constitutionality.
Probably
I think
not.
they were thinking about whether or not they like the idea of a restriction.
No, that's definitely what the case was.
And that's just not right. But
No.
at the end of the day, we lost. I don't know what to say. We helped the other teams.
Yeah.
I will note, as like a side note, that only one team who got the same side of the argument as we did actually won.
Yes.
That prompt. So
it was that way for all 3 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like I said at the beginning, there's something wrong with the prompting, in my opinion. Obviously these judges, and it's not their fault, I will say, to an extent.
To an extent.
They get training, and they're adults, so it is their fault to some extent. But also at the same time, most of them, their careers are very political, where they're trained to have opinions.
Yeah.
You have people that are from the House of Representatives. You have people that are actual judges, and all of these people come in with their own philosophies. So when you make a prompt, something like constitutionality should always take precedent when in crisis over public policy making, it's like, that's an interesting conversation. but you realize that the negative side is arguing against the Constitution in front of a judge
Yeah.
whose career is built on the Constitution.
Yeah. It's just not, it's not conducive to fair results.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what are you going to do? But at the same time, like when there's money on the line.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lesson to be learned there, I think,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So yeah, you guys lost round 3. Well, I guess just to back up a little bit. So I mentioned that each university sends 4 teams that actually compete.
Yeah.
For the U of A, all 4 teams made it to round 3.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which was huge. Like that had never happened before in the history of the competition, as far as I'm aware, according to some of the more senior competitors. So that was a huge showing for us. And then round 4, we ended up only having 1.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, and if you look at it, I will also point this out. Connor and Desiree are amazing debaters, and they did an amazing job. And like I say, they're number 1 in my heart still. Like in my head canon, I've retconned the competition, and they won first place. So there's that. No offense to the NAU team, they also did a great job. But
yes.
In my head, I've retconned it where me and Peyton made it to the semis, and then Connor and Desiree beat us and made it to the finals. That's my head canon.
I will not take any questions.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they did an amazing job. But in that round 3, they got the negative side, which is, like I said, the affirmative lost all but once. The negative side won all but once. So again, like there's that to be thinking of. But I won't ever detract from Connor and Desiree because honestly, like,
oh God, no.
Like holy crap, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, and then we watched their round 4 debate where it was against another ASU team.
The last ASU team.
Yeah, and it was kind of similar to what you guys had encountered. Maybe not as aggressive or as structured, but still very obvious that they were kind of similarly coached. And I think again they came out.
The coaching style shows a lot.
Yeah.
And I think where Connor and Desiree won a lot of points is when they were like, they pointed it out. And I think that's the best thing to do.
Yes.
Where they were like, we're talking about minorities, we're talking about rights. We're not talking about who has the burden to prove what. We're not talking about you know, who has to score what point, who has to make like this contention. We're talking about real people and real things. And we want to have a conversation about that. We don't want to have a competition about that.
Absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, like honestly, like when I did that in my closing where I was like, we're not here to score points or prove who's the best debater. We're here to have a discourse, a conversation, not a back and forth about, you know, who's winning and who's losing. It's like, I don't even care at that point if that loses me points in the eyes of the judges, because in my opinion, that's what I was told we were supposed to be doing from the beginning. And like, I think that's the most important part of the whole thing. I mean, it was especially powerful towards the semis and the finals when Connor and Desiree really brought that point home, because
Definitely.
like they're in front of so many people. They have a platform and they're saying like, you know, the whole point of this is to show that we can have conversations about controversial topics and we can present our views like that. And I think that the ASU and the NAU teams could learn, honestly, from the way that we were coached.
Definitely.
Where like, this is how we're supposed to be having these conversations.
Yeah.
And even if like all things staying the same, if they have really bad prompts next year and the judges like decide the way that they do, if all teams are going there with that in mind, with like the conversation in mind rather than the scoring points, I don't think it would matter as much how the judges vote, because the judges would be confronted with that same way of thinking on both sides.
I agree. I actually definitely agree. Yeah. No, that round 4 of them against the ASU team was so fun to watch. Like for all the reasons that you stated, and then they won and got on to round 5.
Oh yeah, we were like right outside the building, all of us walking. I don't know if you were there, but I was walking with a group of people.
I was already back inside our room.
Yeah, you were helping them prep probably.
Yep.
And we were refreshing the tab every 2 seconds, and when it said that they won, we all jumped up and we were screaming and we were so happy. And then the ASU coach walked by and we were like, whoopsies. But yeah, no.
That's funny.
Then they made it to round 5.
Final round.
And if there's any team that we could have lost to, I'm happy that we lost to the people who won the whole competition.
That is a very good point. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, round 5. I mean, at that point, even round 4, it was all hands on deck.
Oh yeah.
At that point, it was only them left. We were all just doing everything we could to help them out.
I gave them everything I possibly could, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was down to Connor and Desiree. And I will say, I think that their round 5 performance was better than their round 4
Oh,
performance.
I agree. Yeah. I think we all think that they actually won round 5.
Yeah, we've all retconned it in our head. Like no hate to the NAU team, but we've all retconned the competition in our head that we double won. So
Yeah. But anyways, no, and then their round 5, I mean, again, that was just like the pinnacle of everything that we had worked towards all year, all semester, whatever you want to say. Just came out with, everything that they had learned, everything that we had helped them out with. It was just great. I mean, nothing more to say about that. But
I will say, like, they had the negative side of that prompt, and I don't I genuinely don't see a way to win.
Especially in front of the judges like that.
Well, I mean, even that judge was like, I'm not going to argue with you about originalism, because if you, he is like a judge for Arizona, and he's an originalist. So if you're arguing against originalism in front of an originalist judge, it doesn't really matter how good your argument is, because you're arguing against the philosophy he's built his life around. And that's not his fault,
No.
It's the fault of the prompting. And I think that we can do better.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is something that the Regents always say is like, hey, judges, leave your opinions at the door.
It's
well, when you
you don't make it easy for them.
Yeah, when you create prompts that are so opinionated like that, it's kind of hard to say one thing and then do another.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's.
I get that I think that the mentality behind it is they want to generate discourse. Like, if you have something too open-ended, then either side could just agree.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing happening, which is something they want to avoid. But I don't know. It's like the healthcare one, for example, like a right to health or a right to life or whatever should be enshrined in the Bill of Rights. There's so many places you can go with that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, what does a right to health mean if you're the negative? And if you're the affirmative, you're like, you can narrowly define it or you can broadly define it. So something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like we said, 4 of the prompts were basically just saying the same thing, just with different details. It's like state versus federal.
Yeah.
And the 5th one was just arguing either for or against the Constitution.
Yeah, that one's rough.
But I mean, not much else to say about that.
I will say, I want to talk about storytelling for a second.
Oh, yeah.
So just to give the results of the competition, the debate, University of Arizona won 2nd place and NAU won 1st. Well, like teams wise. So Connor and Desiree won 2nd place. The NAU pairing that beat them obviously won 1st place. For storytelling, the University of Arizona, we had Yvonne, who won 1st place, and Ananya, who won 2nd place.
Yep.
So very strong showing in storytelling as well.
Definitely.
And I cried listening to Yvonne and Ananya's stories. I know you were helping with debate prep at that point probably, but you were actually there with us.
I was kind of back and forth.
Yeah. We put it up. We were watching the live stream, and genuinely, I was right in front of the room, and I had to look away from everyone because I started to tear up at both of their stories. So yeah, honestly, shout out Yvonne and Ananya. Honestly, amazing. Just I have no notes about that. Just amazing job. Well done.
Definitely. Yeah. And then kind of with the results, Juve ended up winning. Obviously.
Oh yeah, the whole competition. Brought the cup home.
Got the trophy. And there's just not much else to say there. I mean, we all did very, very well. We all learned so much, growed so much. Came out, growed. Yeah, whatever.
Ted's going to hate you for that
I'm
one.
not locked in. And
I locked out.
Locked out. I think we all came out of it better.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure. So,
I think that I will encourage everyone to go and watch the finals for storytelling and debate. If you haven't done that already, let us know what you think, actually.
Yeah.
Watch that debate final and let us know who you would vote for based on that.
Yeah.
Leave your opinions at the door.
Leave your opinions at the door. Yeah. But yeah, those are pretty much my lasting impressions, my final thoughts. So
you're going to do it again, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do it as long as I can.
Awesome.
So.
Pause.
Just had to get it in there.
I have pause.
Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever lasting thoughts do you have, and then I think we can.
I think it was a great experience. I will say, bummer. it's a bummer, obviously, to get that close to winning money and then not, especially when you know how it was decided, which we do. But at the end of the day, I think that it's outweighed by all the connections I've made. And like, again, shout out Connor and Desiree, because they were basically our idols. I don't know how much they know this, but me and Peyton like emulated them so much throughout the whole debate process. And Peyton's gonna do Regents again next year, potentially as well. So be on the lookout for that.
Heck yeah.
I'm just happy for the whole experience. Happy, the coaching was great. Especially for that reason that I pointed out earlier. That's my favorite part of the coaching. I've made friends for life. I got Logan, for example.
Yeah.
And Blossom, who I also met through Regents. So yeah, great experience all around.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. So yeah, definitely something I'm looking forward to next year. Definitely an experience that will forever be etched into my college mind and will live on for the years to come.
Wow, okay. It was Walt Whitman.
Something like that. Yeah, you want to wrap her out? Rapper?
I hardly know her. So that was I was supposed to be a bit shorter of a discussion, but we got into the nitty gritty. We got a little bit into the weeds there.
A little bit into the weeds.
So yeah, sorry for all the bean counting. I've been Robert.
I've been Logan.
And this was our Discourse episode about Regents Cup. Don't forget our event, May 6th, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Oxford semi-finalists and finalists to come up, please. And also all of the storytellers finalists. And we're going to have a picture with all of you before we announce the winners. And so that will...
God damn.
That's messed up.
I got so excited.
Proposal.
In third place, the student receiving $5,000 are Oxford. From Arizona State University, Jack Hinrichs. And Alina Bosco. And Ubidnov, Saxina, and Aiden Smith. Yeah. And Aiden Smith. Yeah. Aiden Smith is there? Yeah, okay, perfect. So emotional that okay, now for storytelling from Northern Arizona University, Haider Alainisi.
Let's go.
In second place, with each student receiving $12,000,
are, for the Oxford-style debating, from the University of Arizona, Connor Hunting, and Desiree Wall. And storytelling from the University of Arizona, Anaya Singhvi.
In first place, with each student receiving $15,000 are Oxford, for Northern Arizona University, Courtney Hoffman and Carly Thunderlich. And storytelling from the University of Arizona, Yvonne Davis.
And now, the winning university of the 2025 Regents Cup is the University of Arizona.